Hi, Tali. Are you excited for the grand opening of the trading post today?
Yeah, you could say that. I've been camping out here all night for the last 6 nights just to make sure I'm first in line for all those hot new tendy goodies.
Oh, cool. Did you need to do that?
Well, that's the thing about being an early adopter like me, Evie. Nothing is too much effort. And also, I wanted to make sure that I got everything I wanted at bargain basement prices before it all sold out.
Tali, I don't think that's how...
So yeah, I may not have slept all week and my teeth feel weird and I'm not sure my back will ever be the same again, but I am guaranteed to be the first inside today, so it's all going to be worth it.
Okay, cool. When does it open?
Oh, good point. Now! Look, Effie, look at all the great stuff I got with my tendies. It was totally worth it. I only had to punch like 3 old ladies in the scrum.
Tali, is everything all right with your shopping? It looks like it's kind of on fire.
What? Oh my god, all my stuff is on fire. The whole trading post is on fire. This is fine. I'm sure Blizz will fix it any second. And then I'll have loads of cool stuff that definitely isn't on fire. So I'm glad I did this. What are you going to buy, Evie?
I might just come back later.
Okay, cool. Do you want to buy a cloak that's on fire?
No.
Knowledge is power.
Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and welcome to another episode of the Weekly Reset, Taliesin and Evitel's Wondrous Wisdom Show. In a week where not only did the main feature of new patch 10.05 release in the shape of the definitely not a battle pass, but definitely not a battle pass trading post, and was, well, we're going to talk about it, okay? But do you remember that the last episode of this show was called Blizzard's Very Bad Week? Yeah? Well, in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have blown that title before today because it didn't get any better, that's all I'm saying. And I don't want to spoil it, you know, but... And in any normal week, that would be news enough. But we also got Hotfixes, which gave us Unlocked Valor next week. Account-wide Primal Chaos this week. The Mage Tower reopening for all. Unless you're an Evoker. No Mage Tower for you, my scaly friends. Shh. And the first 10.0.7 PTR with its kind of whole new zone and story and fun new minigame gameplay loop thing, which some people have referred to as Torghast 2.0, and its rewards, which some people have referred to as Domination Shards 2.0. And I know what you're thinking, and yes, I know. And honestly, I think that's fair, but don't worry, because I have played the absolute heck out of that PTR. It's why this episode is a little bit late, and I'm going to tell you all about that too. But we're going to start today with Evitel.
Hi, it's me, Evitel. Sorry, I don't actually have a segment in this one. I just wanted to say hi. Oh, I'll see you on the sofa bit.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? I miss a section in these vids. Don't worry, Penny is starting daycare soon. Hopefully we'll see a bit more of the better half of this channel then. But now, I want to talk about the grand opening of the Trading Post, the new sub-retention system which will form a core component of the game forever if everything goes according to plan, where players get rewarded for logging in every month and completing mostly passive challenges for Traders Tender, which can then be exchanged for transmog mounty, petty goodies, and which, once you've filled your traveler's log little challenge bar thing all the way up, gives you a free item every month. February's rather splendid offering being the Harbinger of Dawn's Spectral Tiger mount. And since the only other content in 10.5 is basically more Primal Storms, but in the future now, as you can imagine, people were very excited about this going live on February the 1st. And what happens next might shock you, or it might not. There were a couple of issues, but issue 1, the tendies. The account-wide, you will get no more than 1,500 of these on your entire account across the month. Usually it's 1,000, but there was an extra bonus 500 doled out for the launch of the feature for those who own Dragonflight. Didn't work, with many players receiving either no tendies at all, or, perhaps even more problematic in the long run, way over 1,500 in total, with players reporting anywhere between 2,000 and 4,000 tendies looted from the tendy box, to the extent that Blizzard disabled said tendy box on EU servers so that it could no longer be opened, and took down NA servers entirely for hours and hours while they fixed the problem, while putting out a blue post for EU players basically saying, yeah, don't wait up, because nothing would be sorted till the morning. Which, come morning, it wasn't really, because issue number 2 reports of players being unable to refund tendies on items that they had purchased. There is supposed to be a window of time where you can change your mind on the items that you've purchased, but for lots of players, that window was a fake window, like one that had been drawn on the side of a cliff by Wile E. Coyote, because they weren't getting no refunds, no siree. And then when NA servers came back up and the EU trading post was re-enabled, it was still an absolute shit show, with many players seeing their Traveler's Log progress reset at random intervals as they progressed it, with the trading post achievements that they had completed resetting too. Perhaps worse was players getting unintended progress towards their trading post enthusiast achievement, the achievement which the much coveted Warden armor sets seem to be locked behind, and which requires the completion of the monthly Traveler's Challenge log 12 times. So, you know, minimum 12 months to complete, right? Wrong. Wrong. Because countless players reported receiving a month's worth of progress every single time they opened their tendies chest. So there are players right now who are supposedly halfway through the year-long achievement after just a couple of days of the trading post being live. Equally, there are lots of players who have completed their Traveler's Log and received their Spectral Tiger reward, except they haven't received the Spectral Tiger, and the achievement log shows no progress on Trading Post Enthusiast, even though it should show, 1 out of 12 completed, and even though their log says that there are no more tendies to earn. And yes, that is definitely worse, because that's the thing that has happened to me. I have no Harbinger of Dawn and no enthusiast progress. Color me very, very unenthusiastic about the trading post at this point. As I write this, Blizz is aware of these problems and say that a fix is on the way, and that no one should lose their tendies or achievements, which probably sounds a little bit less guaranteed than most people would like to hear. And it's fair to say that the launch of Blizzard's new flagship feature has gotten off to a pretty rocky start. Is it possible that in their testing, Blizzard accounted for hundreds of thousands of players all descending on one place at one time and thought they could handle it, but hadn't accounted for hundreds of thousands of players all descending on one place at one time, whilst also running an add-on that replaces the word tender with tendies? It's a theory, we may never know. And look, this is objectively too buggy and broken, and it's not good enough, for sure. Did I mention I haven't got my Tiger mount yet? No one is defending this rollout. It sucks. Which is a shame, because obviously the trading post itself is actually really cool. The UI is shiny and appealing, the items are great, the way the achievements flash up as you complete them in the world is really neat. I am already excited to find out what's going to be on it next month. In time, this is going to be terrific. Assuming tendies are never sold for real money, which is the big caveat that I always need to add here. Not quite the grand opening that we'd all have hoped for. But now, for the real main story of the day, the 10.0.7 PTR, and in particular, that new power progression system. This new PTR dropped what felt like minutes after the trading post was eventually sort of operational, and the flow of content in Dragonflight so far means that unusually, we currently have 2 different retail PTRs on the launcher, and the main purpose of this build seems to be just to put the new phase of Forbidden Reach out there with a bunch of rares and elites and quests, dragon races with the absolute bare minimum of explanation, and see what players do with it. Here's what we've got. The Forbidden Reach, which is kind of amazing in that it feels like a whole new zone, legitimately. Most players have spent some time here before, since it's the Drakthir starting area, but very few of us will have spent any time exploring it beyond the pretty linear route that the leveling experience guides us through, and never with dragon riding. And as a result, flying around it now genuinely feels huge and unknown, which is extra amazing when you remember that there's another full new zone coming the patch after this in 10.1. The zone has 8 new dragon riding glyphs to find, which unlock 2 new dragon riding abilities. A brake function, which essentially stops your flight dead in midair, making it easier to land on smaller targets, like herbs, or those stupid, idiotic, rubbish, stupid peaks where the dragon scale expedition flags are. I hate them. And another ability airborne recovery, which means if you use your break ability while Blue Swirly Thrill of the Skies is active, it will automatically replenish 1 point of vigor, something that you'd imagine is going to be extremely useful for questing and farming, where you're regularly landing and then taking off again soon after. That second ability wasn't actually implemented in the game yet, but the break works. I mean, it's great, even if it's not the hover button that everyone really wants. And you get plenty of chances to test it out too, as there are new stupid, rubbish, idiotic dragon scale flag things all over the place in the Forbidden Reach. There are also new dragon riding races throughout the zone, and rares. Absolutely loads of rares. Because it turns out, and you might not have noticed this before, but the Forbidden Reach is full of caves. Like, seriously, there are more holes in this island than Sonic's backpack, and each one in this new iteration appears to have an enemy tucked away inside, which in many cases was a fight consisting of multiple phases from enemies that were more than capable of absolutely kicking my ass as I flew around solo, taking them on one by one. Because of course, this is the PTR, so all of the rares and elites are up all the time. I was doing that Baddie World tour partly just to check it out, but partly because I was after vault keys, which are guaranteed to drop from them. And what are vault keys? Well, I'm glad you asked. The main new gameplay feature of 10.07 is the vault exploration. Some people are calling it Torghast Light or Torghast 2.0, but I think that's probably unhelpful, so I'm just going to call it a little mini game and progression tree for now. When you arrive on the Forbidden Reach and you get set up in the Tuskar Island that constitutes your base, you are sent to the Zskera Vault, of which there are apparently 4 versions. And the first you delve into is called A-Z. Now, as you dive in with your Dragon Scale Expedition buddies, you see it is one of those vaults that the Dracthyr hang out in at the beginning of their starting experience, except in this one, all the tombs or rooms are locked and can only be accessed via those vault keys that are dropped by rares and elites around the zone. And behind each door is usually an enemy or maybe a little puzzle and often some loot, which so far has consisted for me either of temporary currency, which hasn't been implemented yet and which I don't know what it's for. I found an Ashara wind-up toy, rather bizarrely, Neltharion gift tokens, which can be put into a prototype Blingtron thing for random stuff, and Primordial Stones. More on those later. Now, as far as I can tell from the PTR so far, these doors constitute permanent progression, as in once you open one, it is open forever, which is why comparing it to Torghast is so silly, because this isn't a randomized instance, this is just something that's there. It's completable in the same way as much of Dragonflight, with only the rate at which you gather vault keys the limit on your progress. So it will be hard capped if the keys are limited to rare kills that you can only loot once per day, or soft capped if there is a chance these keys can drop in treasures and stuff too, thus making them essentially infinitely farmable. Knowing Blizz, traditionally you'd assume the hard cap option, but in fairness, knowing Dragonflight, it wouldn't be surprising to anyone if these were indeed infinitely farmable in some way. There are also scrolls that I found on the wall which are journal entries and presumably reveal some of the backstory of the Dracthyr, whose tombs these are, on handing in the quests that so far are also not implemented. And that was day 1 of the PTR, with my Dragonscale fam telling me that other vaults would open up in a few days. And I was like, oh cool, because the Forbidden Reach is full of vaults, right? So it'll be one of those. I'll make sure I come back and have a look around. On PTR day 2 though, Az Vault was gone, and instead, through the exact same door, we were invited to delve into the Vault, UR, which is basically the same as the Az Vault, but a bit more icky, slimy, experimentation themed. And again, I was using vault keys that I got from killing baddies to open up doors and get the loot from inside, which again, along with everything else, included plenty of Primordial Stones. More on those later. On day 3 of the PTR, the Zskera Vault had changed again, this time to the IX Vault, which was Iron Scale pirate themed, but otherwise the same deal, although this one had loads of chests that didn't seem to be properly implemented at all, even though I still came out with another couple of Primordial Stones. Yeah, I know, more on that later. Day 4 of the PTR, and the Vault had changed again to Vault KX X, which was overrun by the Sundered Flame, but otherwise was clearly the least worked on of all the vaults so far, and pretty much identical to the first vault, AZ. Now, clearly, when this patch is live, the idea is to have these vaults open up a bit more staggered than we experienced on the PTR, one every few days according to the NPCs, but I can't help but wonder if they will be on a cycle, meaning that you'll have a window of a few days essentially every 2 weeks to enter each singular vault, or if, more likely I'd have thought, you simply get to choose which one of the already open vaults that you want to enter each time and continue your progress of unlocking doors that way. We don't know yet. But either way, the routine of flying around the Forbidden Reach, killing baddies, and finding treasures, and using the Zskera Vault keys that you loot to open doors in each vault is what constitutes the main gameplay loop of 10.07. And is it good? Well, yeah, in my opinion, it has a lot of potential, depending on how different and themed these vaults are, how many of the rooms are interesting puzzles or mini-games, how much story there is to unlock. Oh, another thing that I kept finding as well as the journal entries were items which started quests with Varaxian, which took us all over the Dragon Isles and is clearly how the main plot of the patch is unlocked leading up to patch 10.1. And that's all very well and good. I think there's plenty of opportunity for fun and good grindy progress there, especially if the rares in the zone are on a pretty rapid respawn timer, which I think it's pretty important they are for this kind of gameplay loop to work. But of course, the most eye-catching part of the vaults are the Primordial Stones that I was telling you about. Inside each vault, just sitting there and clearly very important, is a ring, which at the moment isn't interactable with, but which I think is a pretty safe bet, is the Onyx Amulet, an item level 411 ring that Wowhead found in the data when the PTR first released, which has no stats on it, but instead 3 primordial gem slots. This is clearly what the primordial gems I've been finding are intended to be inserted into. After some pretty laid-back, low-level play over the last 4 days, I've got 7 gems with various effects, such as the Prodigious Sandstone, which does damage to multiple enemies if there are 3 enemies near you, or the Echoing Thunderstorm, which builds up charge when you move and then has a chance of unleashing nature damage on enemies that you attack. And Wowhead has datamined a whole heap more in an article which, as always, we are linking in the description below. Questions. Is it just the one ring that we have that can be equipped with these stones, or will each vault have its own ring that we receive, so we eventually get 4 rings, all kitted out with different gems for different loadouts and builds? Or will each vault have a different gear slot entirely? I mean, we're definitely going to find out, but if I had to guess right now, I speculate that each individual vault will give us one of these rings. So after about 2 weeks, we will have 4 rings that we can fill with gems for different options. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking the thing that I've been putting off this entire time, but there's no avoiding it any further. This is more than a little bit reminiscent, isn't it, of Domination Shards, the worst part of patch 9.1, the patch that probably came closer than any other in the history of the game to killing World of Warcraft. And whatever fun ideas might have been in Domination Shards somewhere, and there were, they were ruined by a terrible acquisition system which was obviously terrible from the first moment it appeared for testing, and was just another poorly judged element in an overall pretty poorly judged patch, which seemed to be working on a basic concept of what if tier sets but shit. But you know the World of Warcraft community though, not one to jump to any rash conclusions on a new feature, especially a new feature in its first iteration on the PTR, and where most of what we know about it is through data mining, and especially not on the forums, where the vibe was one of quiet wariness, sure, but also a trust that Dragonflight as an expansion is pretty compelling evidence in itself that Blizzard have learned from previous mistakes, and there's no reason why we shouldn't all give them the benefit of the no. It was a shit show, obviously. Oh dear, here we go again. Oh god, not borrowed power. Domination Shards are back. Whoop. Domination Socket System 2.0. Dragonflight has been good. Don't ruin it with borrowed power again, please. I'm getting Shadowlands PTSD here. Yeah, the clickbait title for this new feature is definitely The Return of Borrowed Power in Dragonflight, which is why that'll probably form the title of this video in some way. But if you are regular viewers of this show, then you will know that we try and look a bit deeper than the clickbait headline, and in this case, that's really easy, because no, this isn't like Domination Shards, is it? Let's be real. I do want to say that I do understand the natural knee-jerk reaction to what is, at its core, a new borrowed power system. system. The WoW community as a whole has been conditioned by numerous expansions at this point, starting back in Legion with artifact weapons, and through BFA with Azerite armor and corruption armor, and Shadowlands with legendaries and soulbind trees, and yes, Domination Shards, to hate and fear borrowed power systems and have a natural visceral reaction against the mere mention of them, to the extent that one of Dragonflight's major selling points and successes is the lack of such a system so far. But let's clarify what we mean generally when we even say borrowed power system, because clearly what people don't mean is, say, something like tier sets, which very clearly are borrowed power, but are also definitely very popular and good. No, what we're talking about here is what we've gotten used to, a patch-wide or expansion-wide endgame power progression system with an unlimited or time-gated grind and unlock involving a new currency and quite likely, as in corruption and domination, a heavy dose of RNG. And on the face of it, Primordial Stones would certainly seem to fit at least some of that description, looking especially lot like those last two examples, so I can understand why people are being wary. But the context in which this stuff actually appears is very important, and the reason that Primordial Stones are not anything like Domination Shards should be obvious. This is a 0.7 patch feature. Domination Shards were a major power progression system for the whole of Season 2 in Shadowlands. They were what players were hoping would drop in the raid. The content was tuned around it. It was an important part of your gearing in the season and for basic progression in that season's content, and likely a core part of your experience in 9.1. But these things, they're part of Dragonflight Season 1 gear. The content that you'll be doing with these bad boys is Vault of the Incarnates and current Mythic Plus. They are the same tier of gear that your main is wearing right now. And yeah, they are likely going to be powerful. You just know there's going to be one especially OP loadout that is totally broken, as always, but you'll be using it to finish off your raid progress or push slightly higher keys than you might have otherwise. These gems are basically just a way of nerfing the current content in a way that involves, you know, actual gameplay and collecting new stuff rather than just hotfixing the boss numbers. And I don't know, that's probably quite a good thing. And yeah, depending on how many rings or pieces of gear that we actually get to equip from this, it's likely that these items are going to be useful in the opening stages of Season 2 progression before they are replaced, probably quite quickly, by the new higher tier of gear that Season 2 drops. And I think that's okay too. I don't know what impact this is going to have on PvP. I suspect that's going to be horrible, but I'm going to need someone who knows what they're actually talking about to help me on that one. As far as PvE content is concerned though, this is very much a way of spicing up the dregs of Season 1. And actually, I've got to say that so far, I am really impressed with 10.07. I think the use of the Forbidden Reach is an absolute masterstroke and makes it feel like a new major patch in many ways. I think the Vault system has massive potential for devs to have a lot of fun with and has that great just one more feel in terms of looting keys and opening doors. And so far, it looks like the entire thing is following the Dragonflight philosophy of the content is there, do it in your own time or don't, which has served the expansion so well so far. Really excited to see how this develops in the coming weeks, and honestly, it doesn't look like we're gonna have to wait too long before we're playing it. And there's other new stuff in the data too, including a Bane scenario that looks like it awards a Tauren totem weapon, some very interesting lore books scattered about the place, which kind of talk about the old gods quite a lot, even though there's no old gods in Dragonflight, so I don't know what's going on there. And some other things that we will be looking at more in the coming weeks, so make sure you join us for that. Welcome to the Sofa Bit!
Hi, welcome!
And I've got a lot to ask you.
Okay.
I want to know what was on your shopping list for the trading post. How was your trading post experience, first of all?
Well, I managed to log in and start doing it before it shut down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's maybe your fault that it all broke in the first place.
Yeah.
What did you do?
It was me writing /tar trying to find the actual NPCs, like in the crush of people.
Exactly. It was like a gazillion people.
It was fun. It felt like a holiday. I loved it. It felt like an event. And I did the little like the opening talk to everyone quest and whatever. And then I haven't purchased anything yet.
What?
I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
What do you mean?
I think I want to save.
So hang on, there's literally nothing that you want to buy in the trading post as it stands.
The flail is incredible.
Of course, obviously.
What did you call it before?
I call it the sex flail because
Okay.
it fucks.
If I get a one-handed weapon, I could use it as my Drakthir.
Yeah,
evoker.
exactly.
But at the moment, I have a staff which you lovingly crafted for me.
I made a staff.
You made my pillar so big.
I supplied your pillar.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. You
yes.
are every day. You are handling my weapon.
Yes, it is. I carry Tali's pillar in my hands.
Always.
Strapped to my back.
And I
This
wrote my
isn't
name
working.
on it. It's like stamped with my initials, right?
Oh,
I don't know how
no,
much further we
it's-
can spread this innuendo,
No.
but I think we've done very well to get it this far.
Oh my goodness.
So wait, please tell me more about how you have not
Right, sorry,
done
back on track.
You haven't bought anything from the
I
trading
haven't
post.
bought anything. I love the flail. I think the flail is insane, but I can't use it with my staff, which I'm going to carry with me forever. Right?
Yeah,
Fine.
right, yeah. Oh my god! Now I made the staff as
Yeah.
well. You can't ever get like it will be.
I know,
One
I know.
Day, one day I won't do the washing up or whatever, or I'll do something that annoys Evie, and she'll
Just-
come in. She'll be like,
just-
"I disenchanted that staff.
No, just unequipped.
I've got
just
the flail.
unequipped.
Got the flail instead."
And the staff transmog that is on the trader's post right now is a recolor of one that already dropped for me, and I prefer the recolor. But then there's other cool stuff. I love the pink cloak.
What about the celestial steed? Would you not be tempted by the celestial steed?
Absolutely not.
No, me neither.
Like zero. I have like no interest in the steed. I think it's because I've seen it on the launcher.
Right.
And for
yeah.
years. You know what I mean? It's just, it is a cool mount.
If you've managed to log into the game, like for the best part of 2 decades, and see it on the launcher and not buy it,
Yeah.
then I think you're going to be okay not buying it from the trading post.
Exactly. Maybe one day I'll get it. And I think I'm going to wait.
Okay.
I'm going to wait until next month.
What, you're not going to buy anything
I'm not
this
going to
month?
buy anything.
Not
and
the
then,
sex flail,
Exactly.
not the nice pink scarf.
I
and
love the pink hood and the cloak is the one that I was thinking about going for. No, I am saving up, and then just you wait. Next month, something's gonna drop, and it's gonna be like 1,000 tendies.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be like, I got it.
I don't think there's ever going to be anything more than 900 tendies on
No,
there.
obviously.
That's my guess.
Because
I think
it would
900 is like
infuriate
the limit.
people.
Yeah,
Exactly.
totally.
It would not.
But it is cool that you get to save your tendies every month.
Yeah.
I've got a thing in a year's time there'll be people with like tens of thousands of them.
Yeah, of course they will.
Yeah, absolutely. And
They'll never drop something to take advantage of that, but you're right. They will, it's...
oh yeah, no, that'd be terrible. No,
Yeah.
no. Like the most they'll ever be is like 900
Yeah,
tendies.
no, I agree.
And well, I'm glad you like the scarf and the hood and the cloak because
Yeah.
guaranteed that is going to appear but in a different color every single month.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, I know. So we've datamined 12 different colors of it.
Oh!
Yeah. So like that is like a standard thing. The hood and the scarf and the cloaks
Nice,
that come with
okay.
them. There's gonna be a different color
Oh, I
one
like
of those every
those.
month.
Those are good. Those are good.
What color would you imagine for March?
Oh.
So like February was quite pink
Hot
themed.
pink.
It was all pink because it's love is in the air.
March is gonna be green,
like,
isn't it?
Green for March?
Yeah.
Why?
St. Patrick's Day.
Oh.
And like spring.
I was gonna say yellow for daffodils.
No,
You're probably
no.
right. Yeah,
No,
green
no,
for
no,
spring.
darling.
Green for St. Patrick's Day.
And spring.
Yeah,
in
Americans
general.
love St. Patrick's Day.
They do.
I've never met an Irish person that likes St. Patrick's Day, but Americans go wild for it. And Blizzard is America, right?
true.
So
There we go. So yeah, I'm
awesome.
saving up. Did you buy anything?
Yeah, I did. I bought the Sex Flail. I bought the Warhammer.
No,
You know, the
okay,
two-handed-
that one's
it's
pretty cool.
so cool
That
and
one's
like
pretty
just
cool.
clean and sharp
Nice,
and legit, and you
nice.
just know that any weapon enchantment is going to look amazing on it.
Yeah.
And I bought the scarf.
Yeah.
With the
Okay,
with the
cool,
cloak.
cool.
Yeah, I'm not so fussed about the hoods, but the scarf, it's so cool.
Oh, I like the hoods a lot.
I love the scarf.
That
so much.
actually just reminds me, I did do something kind of dumb this week. Is I spent a huge amount of gold on a transmog for my staff,
Oh.
which is
So wait. You like my staff? It's just that you would, given the chance, change how it looks.
exactly.
We managed it. We did more innuendo.
And I spent loads of gold on one of the Pandaria staves, which is in the shape of a dragon. because it just felt so right.
Okay, like, yeah, all right, I don't mind that.
Yeah.
That's okay. That is acceptable.
So I'm a dragon with a dragon staff.
I could be like Daniel Day-Lewis in that in the Phantom Thread, where he's a dressmaker, and if he doesn't approve of how people are wearing his dresses, he's like, no, you can't do that. If I come along and I see someone wearing one of my staffs and they've transmogged it into something I don't like, I'm like, you don't deserve this staff.
Yeah. Fine.
But you do. A dragon is fine.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel so baller as a dragon with a dragon.
Yeah, I guess. Is that weird? Yeah, a little bit maybe. But it's
riding
on
my dragon now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's a
dragony kind of expansion.
Yeah, dragons all the way down.
For that. Yeah, I was the same. When you went to the trading post, there was like millions of people everywhere because everyone was really excited about it. By the time I got to the trading post, there was millions of people there because they were waiting for it not to be broken. Like you went there and everyone was like, ooh, let me see what they've got. Oh, let me unlock all the NPCs and stuff. There was like just as many, if not more people when I went there, but everyone was just like, what is this? What's going on? Help me. All my tendies have disappeared.
But it worked out in the end.
All your tendies belong to us. As long as it's fixed before March, I don't really mind. Because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter.
No,
do you know what I mean? Like,
but
as long as everyone does get the things that they're meant to have,
yeah.
and as long as it is fixed before March, I mean, if it's fixed on like February the 28th, that's going to be very bad, very terrible. But still, kind of okay. Like in a year's time or whatever, we'll all have forgotten about it. We'll all be getting excited about the return of all the February items. So here's the thing: when February comes around again next year, as is tradition,
right?
As almost always happens.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Will it be basically exactly the same stuff on there again?
No.
No, would you expect some of the same stuff on there again?
Oh.
So here's the thing, so say something like the Sex Flail is not on there next February, like some things have been replaced. What happens to those things that aren't there anymore?
They don't come back. Well, they might come back at random times. I don't think it's going to be things show up on a yearly basis.
Okay.
I think that's a bit extreme. I mean, even though they are kind of asking you to do stuff for a year in order to get other things. Anyway, fine. I actually don't think it'll be on a year-long cycle. I think they'll come in at random intervals, maybe every few months even. Okay.
Would that be disappointing? Considering there's is there enough stuff on there? Like, you did not find anything that you wanted to buy, right? So should there be more stuff?
I think it's fine. I mean, I'm never going to say no to more stuff, but I think there's going to be a variety of stuff.
But is there a point where it becomes too much stuff and that's creating too much FOMO? Like, I guess that there's a sort of a fine line to strike here where it's like you want enough so that there's a fun selection. You can always find something you want. But then if you literally put hundreds of items on there per month, which won't be there next month, exactly, then there's this argument that it's like, wow, that's creating far too much FOMO and stuff. So there is like a kind of, I would mind seeing a little bit more on there. I kind of feel like in the first month of the trading post, I came away having spent like half of my tendies. Yeah. And I kind of feel like maybe it'd be nice if I'd spent more.
I am really in the market for just cool full body transmog sets.
And it looks like there's gonna be like one of those per month. So this month you've got the swashbuckler set.
Yeah, it's fine.
Which is fine, but like the only 3D part of it is the belt.
Yeah, and it's not as good as the explorer sets. That's what I was hoping for. I was hoping for like a full cool transmog.
I think like every month there's going to be a mount, which is like also maybe a store mount. I think every month there's going to be a kind of unique headline like weapon or something like the Sex Flail. I think every month there's going to be a full transmog ensemble. So we know that there's a Dark Moon Fair transmog ensemble. We know there's like other ones like sort of in the data and stuff like that. And then it'll be like the cloak and the scarves in different colours and like a selection of kind of recolors of weapons and stuff like that, or recolors of bits of armor and stuff that are already in the game, is what I'd have thought.
That sounds about right, yeah.
I'm assuming that in some way there will be 2 mounts every month because of the stables in Stormwind Nogramar. They have 2 little gaps in, right? So it'd be rubbish if one of those was empty one month. Can you imagine? But overall, trading post, success or failure? I mean, obviously failure, by the way. It completely broke when it was put in. But
yes, I think it's cool. I think it's fun. I love anything that gets a bunch of people like excited in one place, even if it leads to crushing disappointment for a little bit. But then everyone rallied and it was okay. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm curious to hear what other people
that's a good idea. Open it up to the public.
Yeah.
Stoke engagement. That's right. Tell us what you bought.
Or held on to. And you know what? This conversation has inspired me to hold on to the flail.
Oh, really? You're going to freeze that and
I'm gonna freeze the
move it over?
flail.
Good idea. It is
See-
something that you can equip on your main, though, so
I
like,
know.
it would be handy, right?
I know, it would be handy, and it's
Yeah.
quite, fiery.
'Cause, yeah, you've got a staff now, so you're like, I don't need that stuff. But there could come a time in 8 months or whatever where you've got an offhand and a main hand, and you're like, man,
right.
why don't I have that flail?
You're right.
I suck.
I mean,
I
I'm
should have
gonna-
taken Tali and everyone else's advice, and I should have got the flail. We are down to 39% on Razzie. Razzie is kicking our ass on heroic. It's
Yeah.
like really hard.
Die.
You think the Titans ordered this world? No! I love, like, why? Okay, so we made a big deal with the jailer of, how stereotypical and stupid he is, right? And how rubbish he is. Razageth is the same, okay?
Yes.
We made fun of pitiful mortals with the jailer.
Yep.
Why does it work with Razageth? Because it definitely does.
Yes, because we've had this conversation before. It's because the jailer is a big, serious man.
Yeah, you're
he's
right.
He's big and he's serious. He's like
With
Thanos or
yeah,
whatever,
you're
right?
You're right. He's
like-
literally the devil, right?
He is literally the big, serious baddie.
Yeah, you're right.
Razageth is like a goofy-looking tiny arm. I feel like a lot of time and thought has gone into the design of Razageth and making her ridiculous but bad, and not, removing that entire element of like, this is the ultimate like DC, like level, like grim dark baddie,
Yeah, I think you're right.
Like-
Oh, you're right. The jailer is a DC baddie.
Yeah,
The
sorry.
jailer is a Snyderverse baddie.
I'm
Oh my
sorry.
god, you're so right.
I'm really, yeah.
You've absolutely nailed it. Thank you for joining us today. If you liked this episode, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make all of our work happen.
Yeah.
If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Fiamma. Yeah, I just saw her on the launcher just now.
Oh, nice. There she is.
No, my name is Taliesin from me.
And me, Evitel.
Until next time, cheerio.